The ship, Endurance, was a mockery among the galactic fleet. Its hull was outdated, patched up with mismatched materials, and the engines sputtered like a dying star. No one understood how it even stayed afloat. Yet, here it was, venturing into the vast unknown. Created by a single eccentric human engineer, it defied logic and reason. But to its crew, the flaws were not weaknesses, they were part of its charm. And humanity thrived in the face of adversity. The other species of the galaxy couldn't comprehend this ship, nor the humans aboard it. To the advanced civilizations, humans were primitive, too fragile, too emotional. Their technology was considered behind, their ways unrefined. The vast majority of the universe saw humanity as a fleeting curiosity, a species that would soon crumble beneath the weight of its own ambitions. But they underestimated the one thing no one else had, the human spirit. Captain Ellis stood at the helm, staring at the star-streaked void ahead. His eyes scanned the damaged console in front of him. The navigation system was down for the third time in as many days, the main reactor humming ominously, and the life support system was operating at 60%. There were complaints from the crew about the rations, the lack of proper technology, but Ellis ignored them. He'd seen their faces, these aliens, scoffing at humanity's attempts to join the galactic community. They thought that because their ships were sleek and their technologies incomprehensible to human minds, they were superior. But Ellis knew better. He had seen what humans could do in the face of impossible odds. The universe may have seen Endurance as a failure, but Ellis knew better. It was the crew that made the ship, not the systems that powered it. The ship's imperfections were part of its identity. Each broken circuit, every misaligned piece of technology, was a testament to human determination. Every time the ship faltered, the crew adapted. They didn't give up. They fixed things on the fly, often in ways that defied logic. Humans didn't follow the rules. They never had. While the rest of the galaxy waited for the perfect moment, the humans aboard Endurance made their own luck. They had no patience for perfection, they made do with what they had. And what they had was enough. In the control room, a young officer named Rona worked on the backup navigation system, her brow furrowed in concentration. She was one of the best engineers humanity had to offer, but even she had her doubts. She'd seen the other ships during their brief stop at the galactic station, sleek and formidable, while Endurance had drawn mocking glances. Some said it was a joke. Others said the human species was naive. But Rona, like all of them, knew the truth. Humanity wasn't going to be remembered for its ability to build flawless technology. It was going to be remembered for its ability to make the impossible possible. You know, Ellis said, looking over her shoulder. If I had a credit for every time someone told me this ship wouldn't make it, I'd be a billionaire by now. Rona smiled faintly. Then we'd be on a luxury liner instead of this piece of junk. Ellis chuckled, then turned to the console, his eyes scanning the readings. The ship was a mess, but it had heart. The universe doesn't understand us, Rona. But they will. He didn't need to say more. She knew what he meant. The universe had its expectations that humanity could never meet in the conventional sense. But they would redefine what it meant to be ready. They would show the galaxy that a ragtag ship full of imperfect beings could become a force that no one could ignore. And so, Endurance continued its mission. No matter how flawed, no matter how broken it appeared, it moved forward. That was the essence of humanity, the relentless drive to keep going, even when everyone else thought you couldn't. The universe could mock all it wanted. The humans aboard this ship knew they had something no one else had, the unwavering belief that they could achieve the impossible, no matter how many times they fell. The first sign that things were going wrong came when the outer hull sensors flickered to life with a warning, incoming threat detected. The ship's outdated radar systems struggled to analyze the data. Ellis cursed under his breath as the crew scrambled to prepare. They were too far from any friendly systems to rely on backup help, and Endurance wasn't designed for combat. The approaching ship, a sleek alien war vessel, was no surprise. The crew had known that their mission would bring them into contact with dangerous entities, but nothing could have prepared them for what was about to unfold. The enemy ship was fast, almost elegant in its movements, and it seemed to glide through space like a predator hunting prey. Endurance, by contrast, lumbered slowly, its engines barely able to keep up with basic course corrections. Yet, as the alien vessel drew closer, Ellis knew they had no choice but to fight. The first shot hit them hard. The shields, already weak from the constant strain, shuddered, and the lights flickered. The crew was thrown off balance, but they recovered quickly. Rona's voice came over the comms, steady as always. "Captain, shield integrity at 40%. Engine power fluctuating. Reactor core unstable." Ellis gritted his teeth. Their ship was no match for this enemy. It was supposed to be a one-way trip to nowhere. But humanity didn't back down. "Divert all power to the shields," Ellis barked. "Rona, I need something more from this ship, or we're toast." She was already on it. "I'm rerouting the secondary fusion cells into the main reactor. It'll overload, but it might give us enough power for a second defense." The alien ship fired again, this time targeting the engines. The entire ship lurched as the hull buckled under the impact. Sparks flew from exposed wiring. The crew did their best to hold on as the ship groaned under the strain. But no one was panicking. That was what separated humans from the rest of the galaxy. They refused to give up when things got tough. "We can't take another hit like that," Ellis muttered, staring at the readouts. The crew had no advanced weapons, no advanced technology. They had nothing but their wits and each other. And that was something the alien ship couldn't understand. A new plan formed in Ellis's mind, a risky one. All non-essential systems offline. Focus all power into the forward deflector. We'll try to ram them. Rona hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "It's a long shot, but I'm with you." With no other choice, Ellis ordered the ship on a collision course. The alien vessel would never expect Endurance to try something so reckless. They had underestimated humans, and that was the first mistake they made. The crew braced for impact. As Endurance barreled toward the alien ship, its thrusters barely holding it together, Ellis knew the ship was on the verge of falling apart. But the crew was determined. No one hesitated. Rona, at the helm, fought to keep the ship on course, even as alarms blared and systems failed. Just as the alien ship locked onto their position for a final strike, the deflector overloaded, releasing an energy pulse that temporarily destabilized the enemy's targeting systems. The collision was unavoidable. The impact shook the ship violently, and everything went dark for a moment. But when the lights flickered back on, the alien ship was gone, crumpled, damaged, and retreating. The crew stared in disbelief. They had done it. Against all odds, they had survived. The ship was in ruins, the crew exhausted, but the victory was theirs. The aliens, who had expected an easy kill, had underestimated the human will to survive. And it was that will that had turned the tide. The Endurance, despite its flaws, had proven that sometimes, the most powerful weapon isn't advanced technology or perfect design. It's the human drive to never give up, no matter the odds. The battle was far from over. Despite their victory, Endurance was badly damaged, drifting through the void like a wounded animal. The alien ship, although retreating, was not destroyed. It would regroup, and it would return. The crew knew they had mere hours before the next assault came, and this time, they would be better prepared. Ellis stood at the bridge, staring at the readouts. The reactor was unstable, the hull was breached in several places, and the ship's systems were barely functional. Every second counted. The crew's morale was low, but they weren't ready to give up, not yet. They had survived the impossible before, and they would do it again. "Captain, we can't keep running on fumes like this," Rona said, her voice steady but strained. "We need to make a decision. We either repair the ship enough to make it out of here, or we use what little we have left to launch a counterattack." Ellis didn't hesitate. "Counterattack. We can't just run. Not now." The human crew knew they didn't have the luxury of time. The enemy was relentless. But as desperate as things were, Ellis could feel something shift in the air. The crew had rallied before, and they would do it again. They had no other choice. "All right, let's get to work," Ellis ordered. "Rona, I need you to reroute everything into the forward weapons system. Use the fusion core's last reserves. The rest of you, start patching up the hull. If we're going to go down, We're going down fighting. The crew got to work without a word. There was no complaining, no hesitation. Every member of the team knew their job. Humans weren't known for their superior technology, but they were known for their ability to improvise. And that was exactly what they did. Rona worked tirelessly, her fingers flying across the controls, reprogramming systems and reconfiguring weapons arrays. The rest of the crew was patching up the ship where they could, working in sync despite the chaos. Ellis was moving through the ship, checking on his crew. He had never been more proud of them. Despite everything, despite the mocking they had faced from the galactic community, these humans were still standing. They were still fighting. The aliens had underestimated them once, but now, they were about to find out what humanity could really do. The Endurance was far from perfect. It was a patchwork of broken systems and jury-rigged fixes. But in its heart, it was a ship of defiance. Its crew didn't care about the odds. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they were not afraid. The ship shuddered again as another strike from the alien vessel hit. The shields held for a moment longer before failing, and the hull groaned under the pressure. But just as the alien ship prepared to fire again, a pulse of energy shot out from the Endurance. It wasn't much, just enough to scramble the alien ship's targeting systems and force it to retreat. For a moment, the battle paused. "Nice shot," Rona said over the comms, though the tension in her voice was palpable. "We can't rest yet," Ellis replied, his voice hard. "They'll be back, and we need to be ready." But something had changed. The humans aboard the Endurance had stopped being the underdogs. They had stopped fearing the inevitable defeat everyone had expected. With every blow the ship took, the crew grew more determined, more creative. And now, they were about to use that determination in ways no one thought possible. "Prepare for the final assault," Ellis commanded. "We take the fight to them." The ship was battered and bruised, its systems unstable, but it was still moving forward. Endurance wasn't just a name. It was a statement. And as the crew prepared for what was to come, they knew they were more than just survivors. They were a force. A force no one would underestimate again. The final moments were upon them. The Endurance, battered and on the brink of collapse, was ready to face the alien ship once more. The crew was exhausted, their faces drawn, but their resolve was unshaken. They had come so far, and now, despite everything, they were ready to prove once again that nothing could stop them. Ellis stood at the helm, eyes fixed ahead. The alien ship was coming in fast, its weapons primed and ready to finish the job. But this time, the humans aboard the Endurance were ready. They had no more tricks left, no more backups to rely on. This was it. A final stand. "Power to the forward deflector," Ellis ordered. "Rona, reroute all remaining energy to the weapons systems. I want everything we've got." Rona's voice was steady, even as her fingers flew across the controls. "Aye, Captain. Preparing energy surge. It's a gamble, but it might just work." The ship shuddered again, but Ellis didn't flinch. He had made his decision. There would be no retreat this time. They would go down fighting if they had to, but they would fight with everything they had. The alien ship closed in, its sleek form glowing as it prepared to fire. But just as it aimed its devastating weapon, Endurance launched a last-ditch offensive. The pulse of energy from the ship's forward deflector collided with the alien ship's shields, destabilizing them just long enough for the Endurance to get in close. Ellis gritted his teeth, hands firm on the controls. "Now, Rona. Do it." With a flick of a switch, Rona released everything, the full power of the ship's dying systems. The weapons array fired once, then twice, and the alien ship's shields faltered. A third shot hit its core, and the vessel exploded in a burst of energy. For a moment, everything was still. The Endurance drifted in the silence, its systems on the verge of collapse. But they had done it. The alien threat was no more. The crew had won. Against all odds, the ragtag ship that was considered a joke had defeated a force far superior to itself. "We did it," Rona said, her voice filled with disbelief. Ellis didn't answer right away. He was staring at the empty space where the alien ship had been, the remnants of its wreckage floating in the void. He had known it would be close, but in that moment, he realized something even more important. The universe had thought they were weak. They had thought humanity would never make it. But here they were, standing victorious. The rest of the crew gathered around, some laughing, some crying, but all of them knowing that they had accomplished the impossible. The Endurance had proven that humanity could defy the expectations of the universe. They weren't just survivors, they were a force that no one would ever forget. "Prepare for repairs," Ellis said, breaking the silence. "We've got a long road ahead. But this time, no one will underestimate us again." The crew didn't need any further encouragement.